So Greg, a lot of Christians, when they argue for God's existence, they argue from the existence of the universe to the existence of a God in something called a cosmological argument. And then one of the more popular versions of the argument, as you well know, is the Kalam cosmological argument. The argument can be rather technical and complex at times. Can you help boil down for us the nature of this argument? What exactly is this argument? How does it work?
Yes. The argument has been an important one for me in helping to see that there are reasons for God's existence, beyond the moral argument that I found to be so influential. But the argument really has three premises. The first premise is that the universe had a beginning. So that means that its history, past history, is finite, actually had a beginning. There is a beginning of time. The second premise is that the beginning of the universe was caused. And the third premise is that the cause of the beginning of the universe is personal. Now the point is that if you can actually make a good case, something to be said for each of these premises and make them more plausible than not, then you may have on your hands a good case for God's existence. So take the first premise, that the universe had a beginning. Now the Kalam arguers of the Middle Ages, and this argument has Muslim roots, though it has even more ancient Christian roots from the 4th century or thereabouts. The argument, as it was developed in the Middle Ages, really focused on certain thought experiments as to how we can conclude that the universe had to have a beginning. Because if you imagine the universe being eternal, sort of backwardsly eternal, the universe has always existed, you have to say something about the past history of the universe. It's actually composed of an actually infinite number of events. But maybe it's just impossible for there to be an actually infinite number of things. And many people have raised paradoxes about the actual infinite. Maybe there just can't be that many things. So if we had more time, we would discuss some of those paradoxes. There are also those who would say, look, maybe there can be an actual infinite, so let's grant that, but that doesn't mean that you can traverse one. Right? Doesn't mean that the universe could have gone from a state that's in the past from eternity to the present state. Maybe it's impossible to traverse an actual infinite. I mean, think about the nature of counting. Think about counting sheep when you're trying to fall asleep. You're counting sheep and you get up to number 913, as I did once. You can always think of one more sheep, right? I mean, you can always add one more. It seems actually impossible to count to actual infinity. That's what the universe would have to do, in effect, to get to the present if the past were eternal. But if that's impossible, then the past can't be eternal, therefore a beginning, a finite history for the universe. Second premise, real quick, is if we grant that beginning, it looks like we're going to have to grant a cause to that beginning. The universe didn't just pop out of nowhere, absolutely nothing preceding it, but there had to be some kind of cause. The reason is that we have a very, very well-confirmed intuition, confirmed throughout our experience, that whatever begins to exist has a cause of its existence. We see this with respect to plants, with respect to animals, with respect to human beings, with respect to cars. Anytime you find anything in the world that clearly has a beginning, lo and behold, there is a cause to that beginning. Now, that's not a necessary truth. Perhaps you can imagine the universe popping into existence out of nothing, the way the skeptical philosopher David Hume thought he could. But the question really is not whether this is a necessary truth, but is it quite plausible? And it seems that this is one of the most constantly confirmed claims that we have. It's more confirmed for me than the fact that you're sitting in front of me, actually. I have more evidence for that claim than the claim that you're sitting in front of me. I have a whole lifetime to back up that claim, whereas not to insult you, but I don't have quite as much stuff to back that up. So I think it's quite plausible.
Right. So what about that third one, though? Because you're right, those first two really seem to be sitting pretty firmly on good ground, but that last one saying that it's a personal cause.
Yes. Well, clearly, the cause of the beginning of the universe cannot itself be in time. If it were in time, then by the arguments we just looked at, it would have to be backwardsly, it would have to have a beginning itself. If it were in time, because the universe being in time, we've just seen, needs a beginning. You place the cause in time, then the cause needs a beginning. We've just set up an infinite regress.
Right.
So to really adequately account for the cause must be timeless, right? Must be eternal. But then that means the mere existence of the cause can't be sufficient to bring about the effect, otherwise the universe would be eternal, and we've already shown that that's not the case. So what we need is something that sort of is added to the mere existence of the cause, so that the universe is brought about with a finite time span. And it seems plausible to suppose that what you need to add to the mere existence of the cause is a personal choice, a free will choice, a choice which is such that antecedent conditions aren't sufficient for that choice being the case. Once you have to start using the language of choice, I think you're going to have to start using the language of personhood. Beyond that, of course, we've talked about other arguments for God, and many times these can form a cumulative case.
Okay.
Maybe the Kalam argument can't prove the whole enchilada.
By itself.
By itself.
Okay.
But maybe there are other arguments that can help to supplement the Kalam argument and fill
taken
out our
together,
portrait.
all of them.
Fill out our portrait of God. So the moral argument for God's existence, one that is a deeply personal argument that engages with our moral intuitions about what is right and wrong. The moral argument seems to conclude with God as a lawgiver. So this is a being with purposes, goals, intentions, no mere George Lucas's force or abstract object or that kind of thing. So I think that we can sort of supplement the Kalam argument, and so there's more to be said on this question of personhood.